Welcome to Beaded Doilies by Shell. In today's video, I am going to be going over the instructions that I have included with the band patterns so that it will be easier for you to understand and make whatever item you're planning to make. You can make bracelets and chokers, napkin rings, ornament bands, and lots of other things. To begin, I recommend that you first create the 8C 4P pattern, which is the center smallest doily, so it's the second smallest doily. And here I have one already created because I'm planning to make a napkin ring to match my large doily that I show in some of my videos. So what you want to do is you want to lay the doily here to look as it does on the page, which I did the round, so we ignore the corners, so we want it to lay in this direction because it matches with here. So this is the way we want it to lay out for measuring purposes. Now we want to measure from right to left, and that will tell us which width we would like to use. Now the project I'm going to be doing is a napkin ring, and I would like my napkin rings to be between 1 and 1.5 inches. So here this piece comes to about 1 3/8, so I will use the widest band width, which is the one that's on the page with the instructions. However, if you were going to make, say, a bracelet and you only wanted it to be 3/4 of an inch wide, then you would count over 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 circles, which means that you would want to use either the thin one, which is 3, so that means if you use the thin one, your bracelet would be approximately 5/8 inches wide. And if you were to use the medium one, which is 5, your bracelet would be about an inch wide. So depending on whether you'd like it to be slightly smaller or if you want it to be an inch, you would either use the thin one or the medium for your bracelet. I would probably use the thin one because I'd like my bracelet to be slightly thinner. So you want to measure this direction to decide which of the patterns you will use for making the item you want. I will be using the wide one in my next videos for the napkin rings that I want to create. And if I were doing a bracelet, I would use the thin one. Now the next instructions is then you'll want to measure from top to bottom. Now you want to use this first one, and I recommend that you make sure the beads are all laid out because sometimes the outer ones will bend in a little bit, so you just want to make sure they're all laid out smoothly. And then you want to measure from the top bead down to the bottom bead and figure out about where 1 inch would be. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 circles will make 1 inch. So depending on what you're wanting to do, for the napkin ring, I want 4.5 inches. Should have brought a pencil with me. 4.5 times 4.5. Let's do that on my phone. Let's see, 4.5 times 4.5 that gives us about 20 circles we are going to want. So from there we divide that by 2, which is 10. So, all right. Oh, I didn't read up here. The bands are in halves. There's 2 halves, and the center is marked with C's and an arrow. So I'm going to write now using one of the medium patterns because I have extras of those. I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to cut right along here. Cut right along here where the C's and the arrow is. And then I'm going to use a little bit of tape. And I'm going to put the tape on the back side because if you want to mark your pattern, the tape will make it a little harder to mark where the tape is. So you line up your C's so you can see them, and then you put your tape on, which is a little hard to do from the back side, but we'll make it work. Alright, now we want 10 circles from the center, so we want to go both directions. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, because I'm doing a napkin ring, what I'll do is I'll mark right through the center of these circles here, because that's how far we want to go out on this side. Now we come back here and we count out 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we mark our pattern this way. Now, if we wanted to do a bracelet, which I would use the small one, I would want it to be about 6.5 inches to 7 inches. Okay, I've lost my ruler. That's what happens when you have a see-through ruler. There it is. So we know 4.5 is an inch. So we'll take 4.5 and times that by 6.5. And we get 29. So that is 14 circles. Now, I've already deducted, because about 7 inches is how long I like my bracelets. So you want to make sure to deduct the width of your clasp, because each clasp is different. Some can be very long, some can be very short. This one's about 1/2 inch, so I'm going with 6.5 for the pattern. Now, for that, I show here at the bottom that if you want to do a bracelet, you want to mark off your pattern in a diagonal so that it comes to a point. And then this tip bead you want to turn into 2 beads. So I will show you that. So going from the center, we want to go out 14 circles. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So just above your 14th circle, you want to go through the beads like this. And now you're at a point. You can also go through a few times so that you don't get confused. And then this bead right here, you want to put 2 circles like this and a line for your clasp. And you will make that 2 instead of just 1 so that you can put your clasp on in between them. You'll want to do that for anything that you're adding an accessory. For example, if you wanted to create a sun catcher, you would do that only on one end, and the other end you could bring to a point or leave flat, the choice is yours. But the top you would want to add an accessory, so you would make the 2 circles. For bracelets, you would want to do this on both sides, so that you can put your beginning clasp here and then also bead on your end clasp on the other side. For what I'm creating, which is a napkin ring, this would also be true for ornament bands, which you can get the measurement for that. I had it here, where'd it go? By using some yarn. And I have lost mine. But just take the yarn and wrap it around so that it's not too tight but reasonably fitting. Oh, there it is. It got stuck to my tablet. Okay. So you just go around like this. And then you would take that and you would measure it to get your measurement for your ornament band. Don't pull your string tight. You want to keep it, so that's 6 inches. So we would want it to be about 8 inches for the ornament band. And you would do the same thing. Multiply that by your 4.5 for your inches, or whatever yours measures out to for an inch. And then you would count just like this. And for a band, you go straight across. And the reason is when you create it, we'll fold it in half to show you. These 2 ends will connect together, and there you go. That shows how they connect and will finish off your pattern. Is there anything else I have forgotten? No, it looks like so. Just reading through it, band patterns can be used to create bracelets, chokers, napkin rings, ornament bands, sun catchers, and much, much more. Bands are in 2 halves, as I showed you, and you can cut them and paste them together. To make sizing easier, you want to create this 8C4P pattern with the beads you are planning to use in your project. Then you want to lay it out in the same direction as it is on the page, because that helps you to know which side is the width and which side is the length. Let's see, measure it left to right for which band width you want to use, because the 8C4P pattern is the same width as the widest of the bands. Then you'll want to measure top to bottom, determine how many circles of beads equal 1 inch. If creating jewelry, minus your accessory, take the total length you want to create and times that by the number of circles that equal 1 inch, then divide it by 2 and count from the center of the pattern out to where was it? Center of the pattern out to each, figure out where you want to begin and stop. If you need more, this is the next part. We'll take my second copy of the medium and we will cut it out. Now we'll just do one side. Now you want the side that's opposite of where the center is, the side with the shadow beads. You want to cut along there. And then you'll match it up to the end with the shadow beads. And the shadow beads, I use what I call the background color, whichever color is mostly predominant in the background. And then that would be where you connect, and then you would keep going. So you would tape these two together, and if you needed to count beyond what you have available, then you just keep counting until you reach wherever you need to to finish, say you want to create a hat band, or if you have some nifty way of connecting it, you could create a belt. If you were going to do a purse, you could create a purse band for it. There's lots of different things you can use it for, so you can continue the pattern to whatever length your project requires. For the napkin ring, we will only need to use the original pattern. We won't need to extend beyond. Alright. For the napkin rings and similar items, you will end your two sides with half circles like we've done here. When adding accessories, you will mark your pattern so your ends come to a point like we did on this one here. So it comes to a point. And then you'll double the point bead and string your accessory on in between these two beads. And that is how you can use the band patterns to create just about anything. In my next video, I will begin creating the napkin rings to match my large doily, which I will also be showing you in that video. Hope to see you there.